Good morning, afternoon, evening or night, whenever you're watching this, welcome. A very kind bottle digger once told me about this site, and having filmed here about a year ago now, I figure it might have changed enough for another visit. And today I have let some other people into the secret of where it is, 3 other YouTubing mudlarks who are wandering around, scratching at the ground, filming and seeing what of interest they can find. My goodness, this is a big hole, and I'm trying to figure out if that tree stump has fallen in or if it has been uncovered.
Was that point of view, Dave? We'll call it a triple colour because we're with the mysterious Tom Burley. So looking forward to having a mooch around with him. And of course we've got Dave, the Lancashire lad. So we're all here out today on this lovely day and we've got a nice canopy of shade. So let's get cracking, let's see what we can find, if anything at all.
A lot of the holes that have been dug here are quite deep. It's a steep hillside site and was in use for quite a few decades, up until about the 1930s. I can imagine that this tree might have been here before dumping started, and 2 meters of detritus and soil slowly built up around it. Yeah, I think it's been uncovered. Anyway, I'm here with Colette and Rob of Lancashire Larks, and Dave, whose channel name is LancashireLad_1980. I will link to both of their videos from today in the description. First clay pipe bowl of the day. I will not take every single one I find today, just the first and any interesting ones. And this little ceramic thing, I think it's most likely a game counter. Tablespoons. I don't think I'll be taking many bottles today, but this one looks appealing. John Crossley & Co., Halifax. The Crossleys were a big part of Halifax business history, but I didn't know that any of them were in the drinks business. Another one, but looks in much worse condition. And another pipe. I won't take them all, I promise myself. And part of a skull, I think. Not sure there's enough of it to recognise. Maybe actually a bird skull missing the beak. It's a bit on the small side, but I think, and it's just a guess, wood pigeon. Right, if I don't overbalance, I'll grab that for a closer look. It's a small ornamental pot. I don't usually take them, and I don't think that this one's going to break the trend, though I do somehow like it a little more than usual. Dave there is usually more of a bottle digger. He finds some great things, and I invited him to this site so he could see if he wanted to dig here. Rob too likes a bit of digging. I think they'll be back. There's quite a lot of space between the digging holes, particularly at this end of the site and in the middle. Strangely, at least to me, most of the holes are grouped over at the far end, where almost every piece of glass is covered in some of the worst glass sickness I've ever seen. I guess the bottle diggers aren't necessarily going for glass, maybe toothpaste pots and cream pots, anything really with intricate, beautifully printed labels. Small break to one of the bottom corners. wonderfully vibrant colour. It's a beautiful shape too, the coloured bit. But as it is, I can't see a possibility of using it. I will keep it until I release this video and see if any of you have suggestions for craft that would suit this. If not, I can probably smash off the clear glass and put it in with the other glass I'm saving up for putting in a rock tumbler. And that there plumbing thing behind the nettles is partly brass, partly steel and mostly lead. Tried to free it from the hillside last time I was here. Might have another go today before we leave. I don't want to be carrying it around until then. It's heavy. Dave's just found a pocket watch. Rob's happily digging away the side of an existing hole. I have considered doing that myself, but the soil is dusty today. Any excuse. And I don't need to dig to spot what other eyes might have missed on the surface. Nice fluted pipe bowl. And I found this glass bottle stopper a minute ago. Hose sauce, very common hereabouts, but I still enjoy finding them. I'm glad that no one else here is terribly averse to cameras being pointed at them, like I am. It makes things so much easier for me, and I guess I'm sorry to make things harder for them. This tree looks like it's twisting itself apart. Healthy looking branches and leaves. Maybe it's just one side of the trunk that's dead. Fungal infection by the looks of it. I see the mouthpiece of a clay pipe. Ah, that's a shame. Let's just see if there's the rest of the pipe hiding. No, must have been broken when it went into the dump. Back at the first digger hole I visited today, where I filmed my intro, and I left some of the bottles for other people to have their pick of. Now that they have passed over, I can pick up what they didn't want and decide if I do. Any cute little bottle is usually a yes, certainly today it is. And the Foster & Clark Maidstone. It's an early sheer-top version of an Eiffel Tower fruit juice. I already have one like this, in slightly better condition, so I'm going to be good and leave it. I think that would have been a lion, sat on its hindquarters, an unusual position for a depiction. Possibly heraldic, but probably not. And part of a two-piece clay pipe. I think that's possibly what it is, but I'm far from certain. Wish there was more of it to go on. As it is, I don't really think it's worth preserving, so I'll take it and take the verdigris and any remaining brass off it for my forge. Not the most graceful of descents. Not too bad, only my bag tumbled out of control. when I let go of it because I saw a cute little bottle. I did want to come down to the bottom, particularly here, where there aren't any bottle digger holes directly above. I wanted to see what might be in the genuine surface, not just tumbled down spoil pile. And here's a pipe bowl. TIH, Maker's Mark. Not sure if I've seen that one before, so I'll take it and find out. Just came here to check out this quite lovely piece of bark. I'm not going to take it, but I can still enjoy seeing it. And I guess, yeah, I'll take this little pot. Wow, well, that is quite some new digging, and there's not much been left behind, just some brown teapots and a fairly interesting bottle with absolutely terrible glass sickness. Looks like bad mildew over what was probably once aqua-coloured glass. Let's see if there's anything left in the holes. Well, surprisingly I can't see any seams, no ash layers, nothing apart from the white plastic bag sticking out, which I guess the diggers might have left. There is something. It's a prism, or was before the glass sickness got it. I'm only half tempted to take it, sand the sickness off, and polish the pitted surface to see what disturbance to diffraction the pitting makes. Wonky top, but the glass sickness is too much. Right, upwards I think. I think this is the end of the dump site, and last time I was here most of this hole was not. There was a tiny little pit with nothing sticking out, and now there's a big pit with nothing sticking out, and a poor elder tree, toppled. Makes me sad. Toppling trees for bottles doesn't sit right with me. Impressively large hole, and there seems to be a bit of a seam. Rob was scraping in there earlier. This amber bottle, everyone else has seen it and nobody else wants it. I'm not surprised, it has ample glass thickness, but some of it is the iridescent sort and it's still a nice amber colour, so I think I will take it and try out a few methods to rid it of the glass thickness, and if none of them work then it doesn't really matter. That slope is the one I just recently climbed up. I do not recommend climbing such loose soil. Something brass. It's a padlock. I was hoping for something more along the lines of a pocket watch. Oh well, I'll still take it, and broken as it is, I'll still try to clean it up. A fair amount of scraping Dave's done in a short amount of time, and he's off down where Rob is, which is where that sick glass prism was. Looks like they're going to have a scrape around down there. I might head over the other side and see how Colette is getting on. No brass evident in this switch housing, so not for me. Apparently Dave restores switches and electrical things he finds. I think I've got a few nice brass switches that I could bring as gifts for him if there's another meetup, and I hope there is. These people are nice. I've just spotted a figurine. A bit of a break to the base, and that actually makes it more appealing to me, opens up possibilities for female modification, and removes any guilt I might feel about breaking it a bit further for those purposes. Don't really want the leaf too, it's just persistently hanging around. I see another figurine. Less keen on this one, but if I don't take it, I leave behind the possibility of changing my mind on it. I had just started scraping like this, not deeply, just kind of stirring the surface a little, and I found first this brass ring, not very interesting, and then almost immediately afterwards I spotted this marble. And this marble is interesting. It's an old German one with blue and red tendrils swirling inside. The camera can't really see how lovely it could be, still dirty and scratched up on the surface, but my eyes can see past that, and it is really lovely inside. I'm very happy with it. I don't often find marbles this old. Scraping, not something I often do, starting to think it really should be. Sitting right next to the path, a nice aqua-coloured bottle stopper. It's a hose source one, second of the day, but the colour of this one is far superior, and I'm glad that there is something I quite often find that I still really enjoy finding. That over there is something I very rarely find, a little bone ring. Too small for a finger, probably too small to be a teething ring. What other uses were these made for? I do know that some other YouTubing mudlarkers find them fairly often, and I think they've listed uses for these, but I can't remember. Anyway, anything that I rarely find or have never found before is very welcome indeed. The sharp-eyed amongst you might notice that I'm now walking almost exactly the same steps as a few clips ago. I did find Colette. She inspired me to have a scrape. I have her to thank for finding the marble. And she didn't know where Rob had disappeared off to, so I went and told him that she was wanting him. I was following him back when I spotted the bottle stopper, and now we're up to date. More scraping on the hunt for marbles. Well, anything really, if it's interesting. The first small patch, no filming, found a marble. The second patch, much larger and filmed, nothing. Third, small patch again, unfilmed, nice cut marble. Too early to be a pattern, but we shall see. I will carry on filming and hope to find something nice. Definitely now looking like a pattern. I scraped about 3 square meters filming, found nothing more, turned the camera off, moved to a new spot, scraped this patch about the size of a dinner plate, and a small clay marble popped out. When the universe messes with me like this, I like to try and prove it to be just a coincidence, so I'll film more scraping and find all the marbles on camera. Or not. A little bit of brass. Think this might be a button. Ever so small though, smaller than most of the glass ones I find. Yep, it's a button, remains of a shank on the back. Not sure if there'll be any writing on it, but I'll clean it up and see. And back to the scraping. most of which I'll edit out. It's not the nicest of sounds. It's getting ridiculous now. I only started the movement towards a scrape, and this was sitting right there where the scrape was aimed. I don't think it's going to happen now, finding a marble on camera, but I'll still try. Still here always makes me smile a bit. And now I'll have a look around this hole. Rob has been scraping in here, so I don't expect to find anything, but that won't stop me looking. I'm back to collect the plumbing fixture. It's almost time to go, and I've just spotted what I'm sure you've just spotted too, a little blue glass bead. One of the things that I always enjoy finding, not particularly for themselves, but because of how other people react to finding them. For example, Fleur and Kate of Mudlarking with Kitten Caboodlers, who really are as lovely in real life as they appear on camera, and their pure happiness at finding a bead is genuinely heartwarming. Farewell once more to this interesting old dump site.
Okay, so I think we've done here for today. Had a lovely day with Tom, inviting us down to this place.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Tom. He's over there. Thank you, so lad. You've had a good few goods, haven't you?
Yeah, we've had a good day today.
Had a good day. And Colette right there at the back.
Alright.
So take care, and we shall see you on the next one. Bye for now.
Bye.
Roundup time. I broke a bottle while I was cleaning it, and it was such a beautiful colour that I thought I'd try to mend it with Kintsugi lacquer. So while I do that, I will say that it was really lovely to meet up with Dave, Colette and Rob. I wasn't all that confident that there'd be all that much to find at that particular site for mudlarkers. I invited them there primarily because Rob and Dave dig, and that might be quite a good place for them and their future videos. Probably not all that good for my future videos. I don't really like that there's the constant hum of a large factory's air conditioning in the background, and I'm not a digger. But even though no one was digging there on the day, everyone did still find some nice old things that they were happy to find, and as far as I could tell, everyone had a good time. That's the best outcome I could have hoped for. The day didn't exactly end where my footage does. Dave went off to another site for a bit of a dig. I think he was filming a second video, and I went for a little river wade with Rob and Colette, and Rob filmed a little video there for his second channel full of nice walks footage, link in the description. And then they drove off towards their home, and I drove off towards mine, stopping briefly along the way to see how Dave was getting on, as the site he was digging is right next to the road home. I don't know if it still significantly helps for subscriber counts of smaller channels to have meetups with larger channels, not like when I met up with Nicola White when she was on about 45,000 subscribers. That resulted in a significant bump for my channel. I also had a meetup with Northern Mudlarks whose video came out the same week as Nicola White's, and that amplified the bump. I was very fortunate indeed. Now, at somewhere between 14,500 and 15,000 subscribers, I don't know where in that range my subscriber count will be because I'm doing this roundup weeks in advance, I hope that my meetup video will give a helpful bump for both Lancashire Larks and Lancashire Lad _1980. Both have good things to offer on their channels. I am doubtful that it still works like that now that there are far more mudlarking channels on YouTube. I would love to be proven wrong. Well, this turned out about as well as I hoped for before I started, and far better than I feared halfway through the process. And it was kind of interesting seeing how Kintsugi could be applied to glass in different ways. With pottery, the end result would usually be an external raised line of gold-coloured lacquer. With glass, I decided it didn't really need that, so I scraped it off the outside, revealing the gold colour that was inside some of the joins, particularly the parts that are far from being right-angular breaks. There is a bit of a raised lacquer line on the inside, as well as some bits that aren't supposed to be there. It was very messily done. My first attempt, I was bound to be overconfident, a bit ignorant of how it should really be done. I learned from my mistakes and did this one in the traditional style without mess. I think I'm going to enjoy doing more Kintsugi in future. I've got some broken crockery saved up for it, but it's not mudlarking finds, so maybe I won't film it. The other finds, well, 2 slightly broken figurines. I've got to assume that a digger dug and decided on the way out of the dump site not to take them. They were nowhere near a digger hole. They'll both go into my box of similarly broken figurines awaiting inspiration to strike, and then I might augment them. I am planning to film augmenting 2 previous figurine finds from recent videos, both ones where inspiration struck soon after finding them. I do have figurines languishing in that box that I found 3 years ago. I've got too many projects vying for my attention. This piece of glass really is just gorgeous the way it channels light, but I don't know what to do with it other than break off the clear glass and put it in a rock tumbler with some slag glass and maybe a few marbles too. Any other ideas? And when I do that, this nice old German marble will not be amongst them. Not to begin with anyway, not until I've seen what the rock tumbler does to marbles. And that's months away really. I'm only a quarter of the way through a tumbling cycle of some quartz stones that I picked up on a beach in Scotland and want to use in a craft project. The whole process is about 400 hours of tumbling, and I spread it out. I really can't concentrate on working in this room when the rock tumbler is tumbling. So yet another side project might be making a soundproofed cabinet for it, with enough space for a bigger tumbler for use with bottles. Because rock tumblers are used to clean up otherwise nice bottles that are afflicted with glass sickness, and they can come up looking great. None of my efforts to clean up these really worked. A larger capacity rock tumbler might be just what's needed. Just have to find one, or make one, after deciding if it's really something I would use enough to justify the cost. Small cute bottles, yay, none of them need tumbling. I found a small amount of copper and brass on that site. I never have found much there, probably because the use of the site largely predates mass use of electricity and predates copper being the commonly used material for plumbing. There isn't much of interest in what copper or brass I did find. The big plumbing thing, that was mostly lead. I haven't processed it yet, but that's got maybe a kilogram of copper pipe as part of it. And I found this fairly cool looking heating element, along with a few copper square nails and some coins, where I went after the dump site with Rob and Colette. Gave a few of the nails to them as a little memento. Did give Colette the choice. I wouldn't just foist copper square nails on people who didn't want them. Anyone who's watched my recent-ish video in which I did a bit of magnet fishing might guess that it was that same stretch of little river. I didn't film because it is sometimes nice to go for a little wade and see without making a video out of it. David of Lancashire Lad 1980 brought gifts for Rob and Colette and me, ammonite fossils in matrix from a trip he made to the coast, and calcite crystals that he picked up in an old lead mine in the Yorkshire Dales. I hope I've remembered that correctly. Could be fluorite crystals, but didn't really fluoresce much under the beam from my UV torch. Anyway, thank you very much, David. I do like both crystals and fossils, and it was a pleasure to meet you. I'll try to remember to bring gifts for you next time we meet. I do hope that you've enjoyed watching this video. I do greatly appreciate every expression of appreciation or its antonym that flows my way, whether that be by just watching my videos, pressing the like button or the dislike button, the subscribe button and the bell icon, writing a comment, replying to somebody else's comment, sharing a link to my videos on another platform. It all helps. Apparently just copying the share link to clipboard has the same effect on the algorithm as an actual share. So if you don't fancy sharing on a different platform but do fancy helping me to see if that's really true, I'd love to get, say, hundreds of false shares on a video and see how that affects things. I learned that from Footprints videos, an awesome YouTubing scrap metal guy in Canada. A big thank you to all of the kind people who've donated through Ko-fi, Super Chats during premieres, Super Thanks on video pages, and purchases from my Amazon wish lists. That last one, I haven't had many things come through there of late. This is not a call for there to be any. No. This is just saying that because I'm putting this video together several weeks in advance, if anyone has kindly gifted me anything from there by the time this video comes out, it isn't being ignored and will be given proper thanks in a video soon. Finally, I most sincerely thank you all very much for watching, and for now, goodbye.